The Champions League is finally back again, and we have reached the 6th match day. This is the last match day for the group stages, and these matches will determine whether or not the teams will advance to the knockout stages or if they will get knocked out of the Champions League. In today's video, I'll be predicting every single result for the 6th match day, starting off from Group A and going all the way to Group H. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. Starting off in Group A, the first game we got is Manchester United against Bayern Munich, and this, in my opinion, is one of the most anticipated matches for this week. Bayern Munich are obviously in an incredibly comfortable position. They're first place in their group, and they will advance no matter what happens in any of the other games. But for Manchester United, this is a make or break game. If they win this game and Galatasaray vs Copenhagen ends in a draw, then Man United will surprisingly advance to the next round. But if they lose this game, then they will be knocked out of the Champions League, finishing in last place. In recent weeks, I do feel like Manchester United have been playing pretty good, especially in the Premier League, because they're only a few points off the top 5. But in the Champions League, they haven't been able to get consistent results, and they've only won one game so far in this group stage. So against Bayern Munich, I don't think they will be able to win this game. I do want them to win because it would be nice for Man United to advance to the next round, but realistically, almost everything is going against them. They have a very small chance to advance, and I don't think it's going to happen in this game. So I do think Bayern Munich will win this game 2-1.
Oh my god! Bleach my eyes! What the fuck?
The other game in Group A is FC Copenhagen against Galatasaray. We've already seen this matchup in the first match day, where it ended in a 2-all draw. But Copenhagen were really close to winning that game, and this game they have an even bigger advantage as they're playing in Denmark. But Galatasaray have been really good so far this Champions League. Against Bayern Munich, against Copenhagen, against Man United, they have always scored multiple goals. And I think as a group, as a collective team, they've been playing very well. I know Copenhagen do have the advantage in this game, but I still think Galatasaray are going to pull off the upset, and I think they're going to win 2-1, and I think they will advance to the next round. Moving on to Group B, the first game we got is PSV Eindhoven against Arsenal. Last time PSV vs Arsenal, Arsenal completely demolished them 4-0. But in this game, PSV playing at home, they're coming off of a few good results. I do think they will have a better performance against Arsenal than they did in the first match day. If PSV do end up winning this game, they will secure their spot in the knockout stages. But I think that's a little bit of a stretch, and realistically, in my opinion, I think a draw is a more fair result. Arsenal have been playing pretty well recently in the Premier League, while PSV are obviously first place in the Eredivisie. And with the home advantage, I do think they can secure a 2-2 draw from this game. The other game in Group B is Lens against Sevilla. If PSV do end up drawing against Arsenal like I predicted, then it wouldn't matter what the result in this game is because both teams will be knocked out. But Lens having the home advantage, I do think they will be able to beat Sevilla. Sevilla throughout the last decade have been one of the best teams in UEFA competitions, especially in the Europa League. But this Champions League, they have not looked very good, and this season in general, even in the La Liga, they have not been playing very good football. Lens haven't been having the best season either, as in the Liga they're currently in 6th place. But at the start of the season, they looked much worse than they do now, and for that reason, I do think they will be able to beat Sevilla, and I think the score will be 3-1. Moving on to Group C, the first game we have is Napoli against Braga. Napoli haven't 100% secured their spot into the knockout stages, because if Braga end up winning this game by at least 3 goals, then they will end up advancing. But realistically, Napoli playing at home, I do think they will be able to win this game. Saying this, Napoli have not had a good home record so far this season. I think they've only won 2 games at home. But with the new manager and with the team performing pretty well in recent games, minus the game against Inter, I do think they will be able to win this game. Braga, like I already said, are in a very tough position, and it will be very difficult for them to advance to the next round. So for that reason, in this game against Napoli, I don't think they will perform to their best, and I do think Napoli will win 2-0. The next game in Group C is Union Berlin against Real Madrid. Union Berlin recently have actually picked up a couple of decent results, a draw in the Bundesliga, a couple draws in the Champions League, and it looks like their team is on positive form. But against Real Madrid, one of the toughest teams in the world, I think they will drop right back down to the bottom, and I do think Real Madrid will win this game. Even though Union Berlin are playing at home in this game, and Real Madrid have had a few big injuries recently, we saw against Napoli where even though Napoli were the better team for a good portion of that game, towards the end of the game, Real Madrid were easily able to come back and win that game. And against Union Berlin, I think they will pretty comfortably win this game. I do think Union Berlin will be able to score, but Real Madrid will score 2, maybe 3 goals, so I'm going to predict a 3-1 scoreline. Moving on to Group D, the first game we have is Inter Milan against Real Sociedad. I think this is going to be a very tough game for both of these teams because currently they're both tied in first place with the same amount of points. So whoever ends up winning this game will get first place in their group. Inter Milan, in my opinion, after seeing what they did to Napoli about a week ago, I think they are one of the best teams in the world, and I think a lot of people are underrating what they're able to do. We saw them last year in the Champions League, and we're seeing them this year in the Champions League. How good of a team they are, how well they play together, and I do think they will win this game. Not to say that Real Sociedad are a bad team, because they are one of the best teams in the La Liga and in the Champions League. But again, Inter Milan playing at home, that is a very tough ground to go to and win. So for that reason, I do think Inter Milan will win this game 2-1. The next game in Group D is Salzburg against Benfica. I think this is going to be a very tough game for Benfica because, to be honest, so far in this Champions League, they still haven't gotten a single win yet. They have been one of the worst performing teams so far in this Champions League. They only have 1 point, they have a horrible goal difference, and Salzburg playing at home, I do think they will be able to take advantage of Benfica's horrible Champions League form. Not that Salzburg has been playing particularly good so far in this Champions League, but against Real Sociedad and against Benfica in their first matchup, they did end up getting results. And again, in this game, I do think they will be able to get a result against Benfica. They will probably finish 3rd place in this group, and I do think Salzburg will win this game 2-0. Moving on to the Wednesday fixtures right into Group E, the first game we got is Atletico Madrid against Lazio. We all remember what happened in the first match day when Atletico Madrid were winning the game, but Lazio's goalkeeper scored a goal in the 94th minute, and Lazio ended up drawing that game. Now, in this game, obviously it is being played in Spain. I do think Atletico Madrid do have the advantage. I feel like Atletico Madrid this season have been very underrated, and personally, I think they are a top team. While Lazio, on the other hand, have the ability to perform well, and they do have the ability to win this game, but they've been very inconsistent, especially in the Serie A, where they can beat some of the top teams, but then they could lose against last place Salernitana. Now, I'm not saying miracles can't happen, and it is possible that Lazio win this game. Maybe they score another last minute equalizer, but I do think Atletico Madrid will pretty comfortably win this game, and I'm going to predict 3-1. Moving on to the second game in Group E, we have Celtic against Feyenoord. Feyenoord are a very good team, and I think there's a lot of quality players in that lineup. And in this Champions League, they've been pretty good. They got a result against Lazio. They obviously won in the first match day against Celtic. And even against Atletico Madrid, although they did lose both those games, I thought they did play very well. Sadly for Celtic fans, and I know I've been predicting them to lose every single game so far in this group stage, but it's just unlucky for them to get put in a group with such quality. But I just don't think they have what it takes to beat Feyenoord. Even though they are playing at home, I just don't think they have what it takes. Feyenoord are a very good team. They will come into this game thinking that they can win, and even though they can't advance to the next round, they will definitely get 3rd place in this group, and I do think they will win this game 2-1. Moving on to the group of death, the first game we have is Dortmund against PSG. Dortmund have been really surpassing what I thought they were going to do in this Champions League, because at the start of the Champions League, I predicted them to finish in last place, but currently they have secured 1st place and they will be advancing to the knockout stages. Dortmund have been very good in the Champions League, but in the Bundesliga, they've been a little bit inconsistent, and even though they are playing at home in this game, I do think PSG will be able to get a result. I may be underrating Dortmund with this prediction because so far in this group, I've predicted them to lose almost every single game, but against PSG, I do think PSG are a better team, and I don't think Dortmund stand a chance, and I think they will pretty easily win this game 2-0. Moving on to the next game in Group F, we have Newcastle against AC Milan. We saw what happened in the last game between these two, where AC Milan dominated that game. They should have scored multiple goals, but they just couldn't finish. They couldn't find the net, and in this game, with some of their recent injuries, I don't think they will be able to score. Newcastle have been playing phenomenally at home this season. Their home record is very good, and against AC Milan, yes, it will be a tough game, but I think they will be able to win. Sadly for both of these teams, if PSG end up beating Dortmund like I predicted, then it doesn't matter what the result is in this game because both of these teams will get knocked out. But with that being said, I do still think that Newcastle will get 3rd place. I think they will win this game against AC Milan, and I think the score will be 2-1. Moving on to Group G, the first game we have is FK Crvena Zvezda against Manchester City. Manchester City, like I already mentioned in so many videos, they are one of the best teams in the world and they are first place in this group. But in recent results in the Premier League, we've seen that they're not as good as they were. They're not as comfortable as they were last season. I think that the loss of Kevin De Bruyne this season and the games that Rodri has been suspended have really disrupted the flow of Manchester City. And yes, I do think they will win this game and they will obviously advance to the knockout stages in first place. But I think some of the games that they will be playing in future Champions League fixtures will prove very, very difficult for them. FK Crvena Zvezda are a team with a lot of history and they are still a good team. They have a few quality players on that team. But even though they're playing at home, they don't stand a chance against Manchester City. They will finish last place in this group. And I think Manchester City will dominate this game. I think they're going to win 4-1. The other game in Group G is RB Leipzig against Young Boys. RB Leipzig have shown that they're a very, very good team with quality players. And we saw in their last game against Man City that they scored 2 goals in the first half. And they had a good chance to win that game. And against Young Boys at home, I do think they will be the better team. But being the better team doesn't always guarantee you a win. And Young Boys are one of those teams where you can have 20 shots against them and they'll have 2 counterattacks and score 2 goals. We saw them beat Manchester United a couple years ago, and I do think they will be able to get a result here against Leipzig. Realistically, the chances of Leipzig winning are very high. But like I said, I do think Young Boys will be able to get a result in this game, and I think the score will be 1-1. Moving on to Group H, and this is a very interesting group. And the first game we have is FC Porto against Shakhtar Donetsk. This game will decide which team advances to the next round with Barcelona, because in the last game, Shakhtar ended up beating Royal Antwerp while Porto fell short against Barcelona. And now they are currently both on 9 points, and whoever wins this game will advance. I think this is going to be a very tough game. Honestly, probably one of the most entertaining games of this week. Both teams will be going at it, trying to score, playing attacking football. Porto are playing at home, and with the fans backing them, I do think they have the advantage. But you can never rule out Shakhtar, because we've seen in recent weeks what they did to Barcelona, how they are able to upset teams. And they could possibly pull off another upset here against Porto. But like I already said, with the home advantage, I do think Porto will be able to secure the win. I think they will advance to the knockout stages. And I do think Porto will barely win this game 2-1. And finally, the last game in the Champions League group stages is Royal Antwerp against Barcelona. Royal Antwerp have been extremely poor in this Champions League. They still have 0 points, they have a horrible goal difference, and they have been the worst team in this Champions League group stage. We've already seen Barcelona against Shakhtar Donetsk, where Barcelona were the better team, but they just couldn't score any goals. And in this game, I do think they will struggle to score again. Royal Antwerp, I also don't think will score. So for that reason, I do think Royal Antwerp will upset Barcelona in the last match day. And I do think this game will end in a 0-0 draw. And that is the end of my Champions League Matchday 6 predictions. If you guys have been enjoying these Champions League group stage predictions that I've been releasing every single match day, remember to leave a comment down below. And if you want to see knockout stage predictions for the Champions League, knockout stage predictions for the Europa League, again, let me know in the comments down below. During this Christmas break, I will be releasing a lot more videos. So if you want to stay up to date with all my latest content, subscribe to the channel. And obviously, if you did enjoy this video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.